Judy, and thank you very much for accepting to do this interview. In this time, it's wonderful to have people, more people from different sides of the world communicating. It's kind of sharing the burden, I suppose.
It's my pleasure to be joining you today. I appreciate the invitation and am anxious to talk to your folks.
That's very good. Thank you very much. This is probably one of my less scientific interviews that I have, but I think it's a very important topic, and I think this should be talked about more often. I'm really happy that you're here and you're going to talk about the initiative that you started. So let's just start from that. How Women in Data Science was born. What was the story behind it, and why there was a need?
Well, the initiative was started by my two co-directors, Professor Margot Gerritsen from Stanford University and Karen Mathis, and who's the executive director for the Institute for Computational and Mathematical Engineering at Stanford. Luckily, we have an acronym that's ICME, and
Mhm.
that's a degree granting institute that's in the Stanford School of Engineering. And that the students there do everything in computational math. So that's actually where the Women in Data Science initiative was born. Now, what was happening is that Professor Gerritsen was seeing that really, even though there's all this tremendous growth in this field of data science and machine learning and artificial intelligence, she was also noticing some trends that she didn't like, which were included that the number of the percentage of undergraduate women who were pursuing degrees in fields related to data science was actually declining, not increasing, which, she thought that over 30 years, that something would change, and it changed, but not for the better.
No.
So that was a disturbing trend she saw. Another thing she saw is that data on the fact that women don't stay in the field once they get into the field. And when you combine that with the fact that at technical conferences, women are not well represented at all,
That's true.
um, vastly underrepresented. And so what Professor Gerritsen and Karen Mathis decided to do is put on a conference with a twist, and that is a technical conference. It's all about the research and the work. This isn't a so-called women's conference, if you
Mm.
will. There are not. It's just about the research and the work, and it just so happens that the speakers are women. And we hosted that first Women in Data Science conference at Stanford on November. In fact, our fifth anniversary is just behind us. It was on.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you. Um, it was on November 2nd, 2015. And honestly, we just thought it was going to be one conference that would happen annually at Stanford, but we were overwhelmed by the response. What happened was um, we sold out the tickets very quickly, and then 6,000 people worldwide joined us for the live stream.
No.
I mean, people were coming from all over the world. And that made us realize, well, gosh, I guess we've touched a bit of a nerve here. Um, and it meant that we had an opportunity to have some global impact. And that's when I started the WIDS Ambassador program. And the WIDS Ambassadors are folks like you,
Yeah.
um,
Happy
who,
to be one.
yeah, really happy to have you. Um, Folks like you who actually volunteer to bring the Women in Data Science initiative to their cohorts, colleagues, and communities. And we started this program, and I have to just say that because of the need, and because of providing some support and some opportunity, that people have really taken us up on this opportunity. So now we had nearly 200 regional events this year, despite COVID-19. And now, 5 years later, we also have an annual datathon. We're about to host our fourth. Women in Data Science Datathon. We can talk about that if you're interested. And then we've also got a podcast series and an education outreach initiative that targets young girls to consider a career in the field.
So you didn't stop at being an only women conference. You started other activities as well.
Yes, it's funny because we like first of all we didn't we this all just grew out of one technical conference, but we realized that with the datathon in particular, we realized we needed a way to help women to be encouraged to hone their skills through these challenges. Um, the reason we thought that was important is that we were talking to folks who were at Kaggle, which is the competition engine for datathons. And they were telling us at the time it was less than 10% of the people who were participating in these datathons were women. And we were sad to hear that because these competitions allow you to get in to play with novel data sets and hone your skills. And we think that that's a really important thing, um, especially if you're a data scientist, if you're a data analyst. If you're working with similar data sets all the time, it's easy to sort of do the same thing over and over. And so this gives you an opportunity to try out whole, different tools, try out different data on different data sets, and you can compete in the process. Although the competition itself doesn't need to be the focus, it's more the focus can be on working in teams to actually um, to fulfill a challenge. And we know that with women tend to, at least by our research, tend to respond to social impact challenges. And so we've made sure that with the Datathon, we always have a social impact challenge.
So you have been in contact with so many people, so many women during these 5 years. Why do you think the problem is? Because now this thing you said about the technical conferences, women are not well represented in the community. They are not well represented. Now in the competitions, that basically it's not even being hiring process. They need to choose themselves to go there. Why they what it's not happening? Why at least we don't go and try our hands in different places? What is the blockage? Are you afraid of something?
Yeah, I think that first of all, that's a very good question. I mean, I think that it's a complex question. I don't think that there's a very simple answer to it. But what we know is that, and what we've modeled all of our programs around, is that if you can see it, you can be it. If
Mm,
you can actually provide and highlight all these women who are already in the field and they're already doing amazing things in the field. They're already leaders. It's just you don't know about them because they haven't had a chance to speak. Um, I've been sort of appalled at different times because I've searched different for videos that of talks of women who are doing amazing work, and I'm not able to find any.
that's true, yeah.
Right? So I think that if you can, the more you can highlight women who are already doing the work, the more inspired women will be.
I think even the women who are doing something great, there is something in us, women generally, that we don't feel what we're doing is as good. We don't think it is good enough to be showcased. When men do something, they are not shy of telling the other people I did this and how great it is and what impact does it have. But when a woman does that, it's basically, well, it was good. It could be better. I don't know if it is still there. I want to push it a bit more. There is this fear inside us. If we put ourselves out there, somebody is coming to tell us, no, 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 it's not good. There is other people doing it better than that. And I think the WITS initiative is helping that a lot. We're saying that women are doing good things and good enough things. I mean, what is the standard that you are not there? We are, of course, there. Why not?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, of course, women are there, and of course, they're doing amazing, amazing work. and they're leaders in the field. So it's not just good enough; it's great.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think that to be able to see that, I think can be really inspiring. I do realize, though, what you're talking about is, people talk about the imposter syndrome, where
That is
women,
true. That
right, where
exists. I have felt that myself. I have seen many other women that felt it. It is somehow hard coded in us that even if we do something, probably there was a reason that I did it. Probably I heard that somewhere. Probably somebody helped me. We don't give the full credit to ourselves.
that's absolutely true. And I think that people think, well, oh, I got here just because of luck or because
And
of
the
an
society
opportunity that was
helps
handed to me.
somehow this idea. I hear it a lot of time that you did it because you are the woman, you are hired for because you are a woman, not because you're good, because you are a woman, and we have this gender equality policy, which I don't like. But this is what they are saying. Oh, so you have an easier job of doing that because they will let you do it because you're a woman.
Yeah, and really, it's just crazy because they're righting a wrong. They're
Mm,
making sure it's much easier to say it. People have natural biases, right? Everyone has biases, even if you try your best to not and have an intentional purpose of not of being unbiased. You're still going to be biased.
yeah,
And I think in hiring practices, one of the way that I've seen bias, and I admit that I'm actually one of these people who has a bias. I tend to gravitate to people who have experience like mine or
yeah,
who are somehow like me. And so we all have to be encouraged um, to to look at people outside of our comfort zone or outside of our knowledge space, because actually that's where discovery really happens. And I think that that's true in science as
yeah.
well. I mean, if you in any kind of science, not only data science, where you have to have this perspective that comes from all sorts of different angles in order to have a complete view of a particular topic area.
And I
And
think science is going to help a lot breaking these biases, because even as a woman who is advocating women participating, and there's this practice that imagine a data scientist, imagine an engineer. If somebody tells me that this data scientist is coming to meet you and I don't get from the name the gender, somewhere inside me I will think that it's probably a man, and then I will be surprised, pleasantly surprised, but I will be surprised to see a woman. Something like Women in Data Science initiative is going to break that biases, at least probably not for my generation but for the younger ones, that these are your role models and they exist many.
I agree. What you'd say about data scientists and thinking of a man. That's absolutely the case. There's a professor at Stanford who's done a lot of studying around that, and his name's Professor James Zhao, and he's
Mhm.
associated with the institute where I work. And and so Professor Zhao has actually shown that most people still think that if you the first thought that people have when they hear doctor is to think of a man,
Exactly, yes.
instead of and nurse is to think of a woman. And so there's a lot of sort of unraveling, right, that needs
Yeah.
to be done culturally. And that certainly is going to take time. But I agree with you about how I'm encouraged by all of the younger women that I meet,
Yeah.
because they tend to they tend to have fewer of those biases. Um, and so I'm really encouraged that over time that problem will change. And I do also think that women will have much more confidence in themselves if they see that there are people like them who are already succeeding in
Yeah,
this field.
that's true. Does WITS have any plan for reaching the younger generation, the one that are going to build the future?
Absolutely. So we actually launched an education outreach initiative, and that initiative is meant to provide some materials and some curriculum guides to secondary school educators so that they can actually encourage their young female students to consider um, to consider going into the fields of study that lead to data science. And so what we've done is we've actually, some of the materials, and you can check them out at widsconference.org. Um, some of the materials include an overview video that just gives you an example, just talks about what data science is for secondary school students, helps define it. And then we also have some wonderful women who have been featured in what we call sort of a day in the life series. And so it takes someone who's working for DataKind, for example, and she takes you through a day in her life as a data scientist so that you can sort of see what that really means. And similarly, there's a woman from a wildlife conservation organization who also takes you through one of her days, another woman from Spotify,
Oh,
and who takes you through what her day as a data scientist is. I mean, I think that what it sheds a light on how on the fact that you're not just in front of a computer screen all day.
no.
You're not just talking, you're not just talking amongst yourselves. You're actually, there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of gaining knowledge about the domain that you're working in and working with people who are domain experts in order to better understand how to actually do the data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence work. So it's not just this, data science isn't just this lonely, geeky job, where
Definitely not. Yeah.
where you're
And,
stuck.
are these material available for people outside US? Could they be used in the schools outside US? Basically, this is the question.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely, they can be used. And so it's really up to the educators. We're also willing to, so we've got some curriculum guides and some other talks. So, for instance, there's one woman who's featured in a curriculum guide in a talk, who her name's Megan Price, and she works for the Human Rights Data Analysis Group. And so she actually provides evidence for things like war tribunals
Mhm.
um, all over the world. She's another, so yes, and all of those materials are available worldwide. Um,
That's very
and
good. I'm going to put a link for the people who are interested, and I'm trying to use it here in Finland as well because that is something that needs to be done, I guess.
oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're able to do that. I I find it inspiring myself. If I ever need a little bit of a boost, I can just watch.
Yeah. That's a good,
Really.
especially these days, we always need a boost. Why not with those videos? How do you see women in data science going in the WITS initiative? Where are you going next? What is the next step?
Oh, what's the next step? Well, I'm really excited this year because since with COVID-19, I know it's been so difficult for all of us all around the world. But what we've tried to do is there's an expression in the United States. It's to make lemonades out of lemons. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're going to make lemonade. And the way we're doing that is we are hosting our inaugural Women in Data Science all digital conference. And it's going to be 24 hours long.
Oh, it's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
Yeah.
It's not a sprint. And we're going to host it on International Women's Day, which is March 8th,
Yeah.
2021. And I'm so excited about this because really, ever since we started the WIDS Ambassador Program, we've had a worldwide conference. It
Yeah.
just has never been sort of put all together. But if you, for instance, if you look at the hashtags WIDS 2018, what you'll see is women in Qatar. You'll see women in Beirut. You'll see women in New Zealand. You'll see women in Africa. So we've already had a worldwide conference, and now we're pulling everybody together
Yeah.
and making it a 24-hour event. And so that's definitely no small undertaking, but we're just thrilled by the
Oh, that's very
response.
exciting, and I'm sure many people will join and enjoy
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
marathon. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a marathon. And
yeah,
you can, certainly you don't have to join for the full 24 hours. It's what for whatever portion. But what we're trying to do is we're going to have regional segments. So we're going to focus on female data scientists that are from that region.
I see. That's
Um,
very cool. Yeah,
during the time when when people from the region are going to be tuning in. So
that's great. Yeah, that's great, and I'm looking forward to see how it goes this year. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
We promised to keep it short, so let's see if you have any final word of wisdom for the audience.
Well, I just encourage you all to take all the opportunities to learn about this exciting field. The opportunities in the fields of data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, it's only going to keep growing. And I just encourage you to be a part of that movement and to be a part of this fantastic growing field. So anyway, I wish you all the best. Please stay
Thank you.
safe and healthy.
The same to you, and thank you very much. And that was wonderful. Keep
Thank you.
healthy, keep safe, and good luck with your initiatives. Thank you so much.